Hi, YouTube folks. I'm going to get ready for to bring on our friends from Facebook. So let me just prepare the shot here. Okay. All right. So let me bring on our friends on Facebook. Whoops. Hi, everyone. I'm glad you could make it for a cappuccino with Father Capoverdi. Great to have you here in the kitchen, in the rectory kitchen. I have YouTube here, so that's why I'm let me move YouTube over more so I'm not like really making a big difference in the way I look. I have my cappuccino ready here. It's Monsignor Montecalvo. Monsignor Montecalvo's calling me. Doesn't he know? Isn't Monsignor Montecalvo watching Cappuccino with Father Capoverdi that he would be calling me right now? Here's my cappuccino. So, dripped over a little bit on the side. I usually don't let that happen. I must be slipping a little. I think it's because I was in a little bit of a hurry. So, again, it always hits my nose, my big Italian nose. Hello, everyone. Grazia, good to see you. Paul, great to see you. Paul, I'm so glad you're able to join in the conversation here, and God bless, and Grazia. Hi, hope everything's going well. Hope the kids are well. Joe Celico, great to see you. Kim, hi. Jean, hello. Alicia, Ernesto, we have a big battle on our hands, don't we? It's I know you follow American politics, and it's going to be a big deal that's going to be coming up here in America. So, you have to pray for us in Italy, Ernesto, because, and Ernesto, it was so nice to see, like I said, those pictures of your daughter and your family. What a little girl, and congratulations on her accomplishments. That's really tremendous. That's a beautiful thing. Yes, but yeah. Ernesto, Italians come here from Italy, and I'm not just saying this to brag or to be prideful, but Italians come here from Italy, and they say that I make the best cappuccino. They say you make the best cappuccino even in Italy. So I appreciate that compliment. So Miriam, great to see you watching. Dennis, good morning. Kathy Kimmo, hi. We have our last class tonight, so we'll be doing that. Thursday over Friday now is my new day off. So I don't know. I say that, but I never do. I have a funeral at 11, and then I have to go to the cemetery. And I might be able to have the afternoon off. So we'll see. But there's so much going on, and I don't have to take the phone off the hook because the secretary is in. So July 1st, we have a secretary now again. Carla DeSaro is helping out, and that's tremendous. About until July. And then Anya Kolb is going to help out in August. I'm excited about that. And then, our new secretary said yes. So I can't announce it yet, but it's going to be tremendous, and I'm really excited about it. She's going to be really great. I'm really sad that Carla had to retire early. I was hoping we could be together for another year. She was a special friend and a special secretary, that's for sure, because, she certainly knew me inside and out. So, that was always helpful to she would always anticipate, things and what I was thinking and what she thought, I would want to do in a situation. She always asked me and always, did things without, never did things without consulting me. But she just kind of knew, she knew me so well. So, but she's still going to be very active volunteering. She's going to be volunteering. She's going to be doing the bulletin. She's going to be helping out when the secretary goes on vacation. So she's going to be here. She's going to be active in the parish. She's an active parishioner. She and her family, her whole family, are active parishioners of our parish. So we're grateful for her service. And we're very sad she's gone, but I'm happy for her. I'm happy for her. I hate to say I'm happy that she left because I'm really like not happy for myself, but I'm happy for her because she would much rather be, home with her grandchildren and, just kind of being she was always a housewife, throughout her life. She was a hairdresser for a while early on. And then when she had kids, she became a housewife. And that really is her first, love, is just to be home and home care, home giver, and, be with the family. But I kind of yanked her out of that after, it's good timing too, because her kids were older and they weren't married yet. So I kind of said, hey, I need you, to work here. So she put in her time, let's say. I hate to say that because I don't mean to scare off the new secretary, because it really is. I'll tell you, we have a great working environment in the rectory. It's just very calm, no drama. Everybody likes each other. We get along. It's just a happy, environment. Francesca's around, walking around, and Francesca loves to be in the office. When the office was closed, I closed the door to the office, and Francesca wasn't in there for a good 3 months. So she really missed kind of being with people and seeing the secretary and seeing the activity of people coming in and out. She greets people at the door, when they come in, and if they like cats, they'll pet her, and she lets them pet them. And she's not afraid of kids. Kids come in and she looks at them, but she doesn't run away. If they lunge at her, of course, and then she'll run. But if they gently walk over and they know how to kind of pet a cat as a kid, and they're not afraid, then she lets them pet them. So she's a really good rectory cat that way. She really likes that. How can we protest the Lady Mount Carmel procession so we can march? We were allowed to do the Corpus Christi procession. Well, I think the situation is that the Corpus Christi procession was going to be a smaller group. We weren't going to be like, 300 or 400 people. So, but to be honest, I certainly am engaged in the process of the Lady Mount Carmel, and I'm extremely supportive of it, of course, as the pastor, because, I have such a strong Marian devotion. But I really don't make day-to-day decisions in the Mount Carmel. The Mount Carmel committee is kind of a separate committee. They're it's interesting. They belong to the parish in the sense that they have the feast here, but the group is made up of other parishioners of other parishes too. So it's not just our parishioners, which there is a good number of them that are our parishioners, and a lot of the leadership is our parishioners, it seems. I guess it's just the way it is now because they pick different leaders. But the president and the treasurer, and it seems like the really active guys who are the leadership are our parishioners. But I think that changes too. I think they give everyone a chance. We had the first non-Italian leader of the group who's a parishioner, and we were really busting him up, changing his name to put a vowel on the end of it, but he's such an honorary Italian. The guy, he grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is a real great, blue collar, real good. I think there are a lot of Italians in Scranton from what I understand. And, so he grew up with knowing, Italian Americans and them being his close friends. Then he moved to Westerly, so of course, most of his friends were Italian American. So, he's kind of an honoree, but Italian American. But for the first time last year, and he did a great job. He did a great job. We really love him a lot. And as I said, he's very active in the parish. He's the kind of guy that you call up and I ask him to do something as the priest, and he's like right there, like, okay, when, where, when, what could I do? How do I, he'll figure out how to do it and he'll get it done. So, he's just a great guy. But anyway, I don't know who the new president, I don't know when they elect, but long and short of it is that I really don't make the day-to-day decisions. They've been working with the police on this, and I think they've been working out what they want to do with the police. And, let's face it, as Catholics, we're not, protesters. We're not gangbangers, or we're not people who want to, cause trouble and, make it unsafe for people and all that. We want to, follow the rules, even if the rules are kind of unfair in some ways. There's so much that's going on right now that I think is going to become exposed in the future, especially if our president is reelected. We just have to put this resistance down once and for all. That's the thing. These voices that want to destroy the country and want to destroy monuments and want to destroy our way of life and Western culture and Western civilization. It's really Christianity is what they're talking about. When they say they want to destroy the system or they want to destroy, they're really talking about destroying Christianity, because you can't separate Western culture from Christianity. Our founders were Christian, and what's sad is I grew up and it was kind of unfortunate that even though, it was I think I had a good education, pretty solid, but, we grew up, a lot of us, thinking that the founders were deists, like they were deists, meaning that they believed in God as like this clockmaker, where he created the world, but then he just kind of separated himself from it and let it go, and then just let anything happen the way it did and didn't interact with people, and like the great clockmaker, like a clockmaker makes a clock and then it just ticks. And I disagree with that. I think we're learning now that historians, good Catholic historians, are telling us that that they didn't believe that they really believed in divine providence, and they really believed that God was interacting with us, and that he really was not. They weren't deists. There's a historical debate on that. I don't know if I didn't become a priest, maybe I would have been like a historian. I would have liked to have, continued school and maybe got a PhD in history, like some period, like typically, I think like the 16th century would be really cool to study. So much happened in the 16th century. Right before the 16th century, Columbus discovered America, and then the Renaissance happened, and the Reformation happened, and the Counter-Reformation happened, and the Borgia popes, and what all that meant to the world and to the church. And then great popes like Pius the Fifth was pope during this time. The Council of Trent and the Tridentine Mass. So I'm a huge lover of the 16th century and Renaissance. And like I said, a lot of some of the doctors of the church, like St. Robert Bellarmine, were writing in their philosophy about, in their philosophical writings about, liberty, themes like that we hear in the Constitution, a couple hundred years later, of all men are created equal, and liberty and justice for all. And, these themes were born in Catholic culture, in Catholic Europe. And really, that's really what the fight is all about right now. Is that those who are anarchists and those who are disruptors in society, they want to rid America out of its European roots. Like they want to wash away European roots from America, and that's unfortunate. Of course, because we can't. If they want to create it into another Cuba or to another Venezuela, then we're in, of course we're in big trouble. But, we just, like I said, I wouldn't, as traumatic as it would be if we lose the presidency, and if we lose the Senate and they keep the House, that would be the most devastating thing that could ever happen in American history. And it will radically change America to be a third world country, in the sense of the system that we'll have will be completely totalitarian. We won't be able to speak our mind in public, as we barely can now, without having protesters show up at our door. And they were doing this before. If there was if there was a an administrative official in the Trump White House or Trump administration at a restaurant, these people would show up and bother them while they were eating and scream at them and yell at them. So they don't want a two-party system. They don't want a democracy. They don't want the ability to have conservatives coexist with liberals and battle it out in the voting booth. They don't want that. They want to completely take control and have no other opposition, no voices except theirs. And if you try to say something or protest against them, then your voice will be silenced and you'll be canceled. So this is the state we live in the situation we live in right now. And but like I said, if God forbid it happens that it's a complete takeover by these people, then we just have to exist as Christians and realize that this, as I said, this is not our home in a sense. I mean, we love it. It's our earth. It's our world. It's God created it. We care for it. We have to have stewardship over it to care for it. But it's not our ultimate home. And as long as we have our family and our friends, that really is, I mean, I'm fortunate because I have a tremendous family, and my family is so close and we're so in sync with each other. We just, except for one family member, sadly, but the rest, everybody else, my immediate family, my cousins, and my immediate friend, my closest friends, like I said, except one family member, I have to be honest, and one very close friend who, sadly, I don't know how they could possibly not agree with the rest of our family on this and our friends. But this one close friend and this one family member, I don't understand what they're thinking, because they're such great people, of course, and I love them in the depths of my heart. And to think that they could be on the side of chaos and anarchy and destruction of America and our values and our Christian way of life, and it just shocks me, actually. But again, they have a right. I mean, I don't think they should be canceled by any means. It's just shocking, though, that they would take the position that they take. I don't know, but it's only 2 out of every cousin and every close family member. So I'm fortunate, and that's really what it means. Then is that we have to be, we have to stick together. We have to, even though the world may be crumbling around us. The important thing is that we have our family and that we have our close friends, and that's what matters. And they can't harm the body. They can harm the body, but they can't harm the soul. They can even take away our family, and it still is going to, they never take away our relationship with Christ. So we really have to remember that. And that's what gives me solace, is that whoever wins the election, I'm still going to have my beautiful immediate family and my beautiful cousins that I have. I'm fortunate to have tons of cousins, and we still have each other. That doesn't change. So, we have to be thankful for that. And it's sad. And then we just say, you know what, we throw up our hands and we say, that it's unfortunate that this beautiful experiment of America that was founded by Christopher Columbus, and Europeans came here to evangelize and to convert souls to Christ, as is the mission of Christianity, to establish a country that would be a more perfect, try to form a more perfect union, to have beautiful documents like the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, establish beautiful monuments, like the Jefferson Memorial and the Lincoln Memorial and the White House and the Washington Monument. At least the country survived for 200 and so years. I mean, that was a good run. If we lose the House, the Senate, and the presidency, it could be in the end of America, you know, the way it was founded, and replace it with like a Venezuela kind of, or Cuba. And you know what? At least we had America for the time we did, and it meant that it could work. But democracy, though, democracy can only work if you need a fair educational system, an unbiased educational system, and an unbiased press. And that's the way it can work. But a democracy won't work if you have a biased educational system that's rooting for one political side over the other, and you have a press that's rooting for one side over the other. A democracy can't work, because we can raise our children in the best possible way, you know, and that's what we're trying to do with my grandnieces, you know, is that, you know, we're teaching them all the important values of Judeo-Christian philosophy and thought. You know, we're educating them and teaching them, you know, the importance of a nuclear family, the importance of Mass every single Sunday, the importance of the Bible and how significant it is, the importance of patriotism and loving your country and saluting the flag, not kneeling for the national anthem or replacing the national anthem with something else, but putting your hand over your chest and believing in American values and in Catholic values. And then in our tradition, you know, we're Italian. You know, I think if you're Portuguese, or if you're Irish, or if you're German, you know, I really believe that you should raise your children to know their heritage. And that's what we're doing in my family with our grandnieces, where, you know, we're teaching them, you know, you're Italian, you know, this is what it means to, you know, these recipes that you're going to learn, and these are the foods that we eat, and this is the culture that we have. And, you know, we come from a culture, you know, that's you know, was the greatest empire in world history. It was the biggest and vastest empire, and it converted to Catholicism, and through that empire, many other territories were converted to Catholicism. And you know, we have as Italians, we have a glorious past of music and art and culture and literature. You know, so every culture, though, can boast of their things that they're proud of about their accomplishments in society, and they need to be taught. So, you know, you can do all that, and you can bring them up, and then you send them to college, and you get completely undermined. You know, all the values that you brought them up to believe and to hold dear to their heart, you send them off to college, and you have radical people who are skewing history and partially telling the truth about, like Christopher Columbus. You can make anybody an evil person if you want in history. You can bring up anything about them that and twist the truth and not tell the whole story. And then you and their whole purpose is to turn their kids, turn these children away from their families, to sever them from their families. And I know, because I went through it. You know, I went to Rhode Island College, and, you know, it was a very, very liberal college. And this was the education I received. You know, it was like, throw away the past and don't believe the things that you were brought up to believe, but follow this particular philosophy. And all my teachers were Democrats. All my teachers were liberal. You know, so this is the indoctrination that takes place. They try to erase the tapes, you know, of the children that have come to them who are, you know, came from good families and good Catholics, and you know, and radicalize them in a bad way, you know. So they come home from school, and the parents are like, "What is this all about?" You know, and you don't want to go to Mass, and you know, you're telling me you're going to get married, and you don't want to get married in church. You know, this isn't the way that we raised you, you know, and you know, to our belief system. And that's why, you know, we're not even saying we'll let them decide for themselves. They're being persuaded in the opposite direction. And it's happening in Catholic colleges too. Many of the Catholic colleges have completely been taken over by radical liberals, and the order itself has been taken over by radical liberals as priests. So, we're that's why a democracy. I love a democracy, and I really believe that a democracy is the best possible. I mean, what else are we going to have? Like I said, a divine right monarchy. That works when, like I said, when you have a good king and a very, very pious pope. If you have a very, very pious, holy pope, and you have a king like St. Louis, or like some of the other kings, that King Henry, who lived in Bulgaria, I believe it was. His feast day is my birthday, and he was canonized because he loved the poor, and he was a devout Catholic, and very charitable, like St. Louis. You read the story of St. Louis as a king in France, and my goodness, he invited hundreds of people a day to his palace who were poor to eat, and he didn't eat until all the poor ate, and then he would eat the leftovers of the poor, after they left. So, and the things he did for charity and for to promote hospitals and places of learning and education. He was a saint, and he deserved to be canonized. But when it works, when a divine right monarchy works, it works extremely well. But the problem is, you have to have, we would have to, in order for us in America to have a divine right monarchy, we would have to have 95% of Catholics in the country who are devout Catholics. Like, I'm talking about daily mass Catholics, 95% who are daily mass Catholics. And, and then we'd have to, figure out a king who would be, pious and holy, and then the Pope would anoint him, and then he would promote all these great, very holy, beautiful, charitable, gospel-centric, Christocentric values that would be even better than the Constitution, and there would be better justice in the world. But how, to accomplish that, like I said, it's impossible. It's an impossible. So is it even worth, just saying, well, it is, in the sense that we can banter and say, well, imagine if we, could do that. Imagine if we could convert 95% of America to be Catholic, to go to daily mass, and then, to rise up, a divine right monarch, who would instill good values in our country, and wholesome, values, and education would be free-spirited, to think on your own, but not be coerced into trying to brainwash kids into a particular political belief system. So that would be what we want. But it's impossible really to achieve, in a sense. So, I think a democracy is the best way, but it really isn't a, we see it breaking down, because if a democracy works, as long as people follow the rules, but if the mob then takes over, and the mob starts to determine what monuments are going to be standing and what aren't, or what zones are going to be free from cops and what zones aren't. If the mob decides, you can easily put down that mob. But if there are politicians who are looking at these mobs as they're kind of like attack dogs of their party, and they support them, in a sense that they want this anarchy and this chaos, especially to diminish, the current president, who's the opposite party, then that's where democracy breaks down. The party where these people belong, these mobs belong, that party needs to say, look, I know we agree philosophically on some things, but we have to stop this. The police have to go in. We have to stop vandalism and looting, and then a democracy works, and it did work in the 50s and 60s. There wasn't much different. There was a difference between the two parties, but John F. Kennedy, when you listen to him speak, sounds like a Republican today. The Republican Party has kind of become like the Democratic Party of the 1950s and 60s, early 60s. JFK was really the last Democrat who espoused kind of true American values and was an American icon. I would have, I know people may disagree with this, but when President Trump gave his speech at Mount Rushmore and talked about American heroes that he would like in that park that he wants to create, which I think is a great idea. I would really add JFK in among them. I know he was elected, because of the mafia, giving him the election in West Virginia and in Illinois, and I understand that. And then he wasn't really good to, I feel bad for my buddy Frank Sinatra. He really was unkind to Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra did so much for JFK. He loved JFK. He did free concerts for him and campaigned for him and helped him in every way he could. And he loved JFK. And when he became president, he was so happy because he believed in him, which you can't blame him for believing in him. He was an inspirational man to I didn't know him, of course. I was born in 65. So he was assassinated in 63. But I was, it was so tragic because he was such a great inspirational leader, JFK. He was, to listen to him speak elevated your soul. It really did. This is my opinion. I know there's people who may disagree with me on this, but I find him when I read about him, I know he certainly had his personal problems in his life. And if he lived today with the scrutiny that we have of the press, I don't think he would have had a hard time surviving considering his lifestyle. And I understand all that, but I'm just talking about his pure political leadership abilities. And I really think he was in his public life, he was a sincere man who really wanted to do his best to make a difference and espouse values that were just good for America. Like when I think of JFK, I don't think of him as a Democrat. I think of him, he was certainly, but I think of him as just a president who loved America. And I think a lot of the presidents, I think Eisenhower was like that. I think certainly Truman, Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt was someone who loved America. So we were fortunate to have some good presidents like Teddy Roosevelt and like Eisenhower and Kennedy, and Ronald Reagan, who really just they ascended political parties. They just loved America, and you could tell. And I think I would put Trump in that category too, where at least in the 20th century and 21st century, these were people, like I said, I would say Teddy Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, and Reagan and Trump. And can you see the similarities in these men? They all had very high IQs, but also just the fact that they just were American. They just loved America, and they wanted America to achieve, and they wanted America, this experiment, to prosper. And we don't want to, neglect our past and think that we were perfect. And we want to embrace our imperfections. And that's what I was always taught. I was always taught that, there were terrible injustices but we overcame them. That was the beauty of America, that America itself wasn't intrinsically evil, but there was evil that happened in America that we overcame. But America itself wasn't intrinsically evil. It was evil that was happening in America. It's like today, abortion is legal in the United States. Now that's an evil. There's no doubt about it that that the legalization of abortion is an evil. But America isn't intrinsically evil because abortion is legal in America. So that's an example of that. And these men that I mentioned who were president espoused these kind of incredible, beautiful values that promoted our country, but also recognized its errors, like Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra loved America. His mother and father were Italians, Americans from Italy. Or maybe his grandparents came here, and he found the American dream. There's no doubt about it. He had a voice, one in 1,000 years. Do you get a voice like his? But certainly, so he was talented, but he was a hard worker as well, and he used his talents in a very beautiful way to entertain. But he he recognized the injustices of his day. He was horrified by segregation. Frank Sinatra was a huge promoter of justice when it came to segregation. And he was friends with a lot of Black musicians, and we owe so much to the Black community for their music. I mean, think about the Black community and before the 1990s, how they contribute. After the 1990s, it's a disaster, but before the 1990s, think about the contribution, the creation of jazz, and Al Jolson discovering jazz in New Orleans, and popularizing it and bringing, that music to the forefront. This beautiful, like, instrumental works of art, of horns and drums and, beautiful, music that inspired the crooners and Bing Crosby, and then Bing Crosby inspired Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra, his hero was Bing Crosby. And Al Jolson is the father of all of these performers and singers of the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And then the whole Motown and tremendous music. When my family gets together and my cousins get together, we constantly play Motown. It's one of our favorite venues to play. There are other things too that we like, but Motown, man, I just love to listen to. I listen to 70s on 7, and it's just great. The 60s and the 50s, Chuck Berry and the contribution that they made to rock and roll and to inspiring the Beach Boys and the Beatles and Little Richard, and just tremendous music that they gave us. They brought the soul of their struggles, of their tragedies, of their problems. They brought that to music, and you can feel the blues, that you can feel their soul, in that music. And that's what really makes it so beautiful. And it was such a terrible struggle that they had. And Sinatra had no time for prejudice. And Sinatra hated segregation. He was best friends with Sammy Davis Jr. and other Black performers. And if he went into a place and they wouldn't allow Sammy Davis Jr. in there, Sinatra would say, "I'm out of here. You're never going to see me here again." And he was supportive of his Black friends, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. He really does, because I hope that he's remembered. I hope Sinatra is remembered for his commitment to social justice when it comes to segregation, and how he was totally against it as an entertainer and performer. And he didn't care about skin color, and that's really what Martin Luther King was promoting. Is that they shouldn't be we shouldn't look at skin color. We should know our history and our culture. I mean, I love being Italian. I love what it means to be an Italian American. I love my roots. I love my history. Certainly, we all need to love where we come from, but we really shouldn't be judged on our color, or we shouldn't have special treatment because of our color. Whites shouldn't have special treatment, nor should Blacks have special treatment because of their color. None of us should be allowed or enter, have acceptance into a school because of our skin color. I shouldn't be because I'm white, and a black person shouldn't because they're black. We should all it should be a meritorious society. We should all just achieve via merits. If we can merit getting into a school, then we, and if we can't, and if a group of people can't, then let's solve the problem of why they're having trouble not getting into these colleges. Maybe it's because both parents aren't living at home. That's really the biggest problem we have is that, kids are going to school and the parents aren't, really engaged in some of them, and their kids aren't doing well. You try and call the parents in, and either there's one parent or there's maybe several fathers of children under one roof, and none of the fathers live there. So it becomes a huge problem. And then, as a result, the educational system is completely caved and has said, now has completely let the students run the schools, and the students decide what they're going to learn. The students decide how much homework they're going to have. The students can write up a teacher. A student can say, I'm writing you up, and because you did this. And the student has these slips that they could write up the teacher. And then they bring it to the administration. And a lot of times the administration sides with the student. And the teacher is, but he yelled at me. He swore at me, no, you can't, just let him, So when the children are running the schools and not the teachers and the adults and the administrators, this is what the problem is. And then these kids, they leave school from the environment of running the school and of being in charge of the school, not the principal, not the teachers, not the administration, but the students run the school. And they leave these schools where they're in charge, and they go out into the world, and then they think we're in charge. So adults aren't in charge, or authority isn't in charge, or police aren't in charge, the administrative structure of the town isn't in charge, we're in charge. And so we want this monument down, and guess what? We're going to take it down because this is the environment in which we grew up, that we make decisions, what we feel, so you're letting adolescents and you're letting children learn the behavioral patterns of always getting their way, and of always believing that they're the most important authority, not their parents, not teachers, not government, not politicians, not elected officials, but they're the ones who should always make the decisions. And so if the adults disagree with them, or if the authority or the police disagree with them, well, then we're just going to take control and take matters, mob rule, into our own hands. And that's why we're in, the situation we're in. I mean, there are things that I remember of discipline things that I had a teacher. She was a really good teacher, but she was really tall. And for me, anyone is really tall as far as I'm concerned. But she was probably about 5'10", 5. She was a very beautiful woman too. As a little kid, I thought, wow, she's really pretty. So anyway, her kind of disciplined way, which wouldn't be allowed today. She would lean down because she was so tall, and she would lean down and get right in your face. And she had this very authoritative voice, like, you listen to me, you better not, and she'd do this. And then you'd just be like this, she never touched us. In public schools, at LaSalle, we would get whacked when I was going there. But not in public school, but at that time. But anyway, she was, it was very authoritative the way she would discipline. She would lean right into you, and she was so tall, and her presence, she was very lean, her presence was very authoritative, and she'd lean forward, and she had this like voice that was almost piercing in a way, the way when she disciplined. And, and you just kind of like, got in line, nowadays you can't do, you can't lean over, you can't point. It's just unbelievable. You can't discipline today. They'll write you up, and the administration will take their side. So this is the culture we live. That's why, we have to send our kids to Catholic school or homeschool. and then we just have to send them to a good college. Don't send them to, even if it's a Catholic college, if they're a liberal Catholic college, if they have liberal professors. There are commentators I watch on TV who, on the news, who promote the radical liberal side of politics. And I see where they're from, and they're from a Catholic school. They're from a Catholic college. And I'm like, how does this Catholic college, how do they hire a guy like this whose values are completely opposite of what the Orthodox Catholic teachings are? I don't understand it. It baffles me. But like I said, this is why we have to be extremely, extremely careful. I have a friend whose kid went to a Catholic school at college, and she went to the graduation, and she said, "Father, you would not believe the graduation. It was all about like these liberal beliefs and principles that are completely opposite to Catholicism and our true teachings." And she said, "I was shocked." And I was like, well, this is the state that we're in right now. We're such a minority nowadays. But there are schools out there that are excellent, and there are Catholic schools out there. You might have to go to Wyoming or Utah, or you might have to send them Idaho or Nebraska or something. You might have to send them to an area of the country, maybe if you're from the coast. Kids are just not used to living in mid America, but they'll get a better education. They really will, especially the coastal colleges. Really bad. So, and the Catholic ones too. So we have to really look hard and deep within ourselves and say, let's. I think the only way we can change this is if through prayer, fasting, and values, and keeping our Judeo-Christian values in check, and really being, and finding parishes too that where the priest is going to be Orthodox, where the priest is going to espouse values that are traditional church values. The way the priest dresses and the way he addresses people in his homilies. That's really important too, that we join parishes and support parishes that are where the priest is very Orthodox and very true to the church's teachings. That's a way too that we can, or we support financially. You may not, you may be in another part of the country or another part of the state, and you may see a priest, maybe like myself, who's streaming and who's doing things, and you might say, you know what, I need to support this priest. I need to, even though I don't belong to this parish, and even though this parish, is a distance from me, and I could never get there every Sunday. I want to support this parish because it's a parish that's espousing, true Catholic values. Like our parish, we have a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week adoration chapel. I call that the engine room of the parish. Our adoration chapel, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, people are in there praying. And that's the engine room. That's the coal, that's being shoveled into the furnace, and keeping the parish going. Then we have a beautiful daycare. A beautiful pre-K. And our pre-K last year, was the first year. We only had a couple of months to advertise it because, we were trying to get all the requirements done to open. And so there were maybe 5 or 6. This year we have 10, and we can have more, I think, too. So, if you know somebody in the area of Westerly, that's not too far of a drive, and you want to check out our pre-K, it's called Pray and Play. And it's tremendous because it's not just teaching the kids the rudimentary, educational stuff that they need at 3 and 4-year-olds, that we were taught by our grandparents. My grandmother, when I was that age, lived with us, and my 2 older sisters would go to school, and I would be home with my grandmother, and at 3 and 4 years old, and she, taught me these things, and she, would be with me all day, and it was very beautiful. We lived right near Smith Street, almost in North Providence, like in the North Providence line. So we lived right near the bus stop, right in front of LaSalle was a bus stop, LaSalle Academy. And so we would, my grandmother would take me to the bus stop in front of LaSalle, and the bus would come and take us downtown. I think it was bus 57, if I remember. Maybe someone could correct me if, who knows that. And then it would go, through Elmhurst, and it would go through Smith Hill, and then it would go past the State House and downtown. And my grandmother would take me to Woolworths, and she would take me to the outlet company, and she would take me to 5 and 10 stores, and she would take me. In those days, the markets had like a little cafeteria area, and she would take me for a little hamburger, for lunch, and we would spend the day together, and then she would get on the bus and take me home, like right around the time my sisters would come home from school and my parents would come home from work. So that's the kind of that's the pre-K I had. My teacher was my grandmother, who never wore pants. She always wore a dress. She always wore the house dress. My grandmother, I never saw her. She always had a house dress on. I never saw her in like a pair of pants. She always the house dress. So that's the education I had, and it was a great education for pre-K. But we have two awesome teachers who, but nowadays it's very organized. Kids have to actually, like when they leave the 4-year-olds, when they leave pre-K, they have to take like a little exam so that they can go into kindergarten and they have the skills that they need. And Gina McGuire is the best. And Carla DeSaro is the best. So they're a great team. And wow. And the facility, I got to live stream, with the camera and everything, and show you again the facility. It's so beautiful, big, spacious, a lot of activities and toys and games. And it's a beautiful, beautiful environment, learning environment. I go there every day and I see the kids, we pray. And that's the important thing too, is that not only are they getting the educational skills that they need as 3 and 4-year-olds, but they're also getting the skills of learning the sign of the cross, of praying, of saying their prayers, pledge allegiance to the flag. So it's a very, very Orthodox Catholic environment, and it's a very, very patriotic environment. We teach them the values of the flag and to love our country, to pray for our president, to pray for the Pope. We teach them who the Pope is and what that means for us. So, we're giving them the best head start, that we possibly can. And then, to get into school, into kindergarten, and we have the 2 best teachers, to do that. So our preschool is awesome. And then we have devotions, as and activities. We have the Sant'Angelo feast, the Our Lady of Mount Carmel feast. We have missions that are always happening here. So, it's a very, very active parish, but it's also a parish that's based on traditional Catholic, conservative, traditional Orthodox values. And that's why I celebrate Mass ad Orientem, because we're, the priest is not talking to the people. Like he's talking to God when he's celebrating Mass. The whole Eucharistic prayer is talking to God. And so the priest should be facing the same direction as the people as he's leading them. A leader, George Washington, when he was leading his troops, he didn't face his troops and say, charge, and gallop toward them as they were galloping toward him. That's not leading. He led by, him being in front of them and saying charge and him leading them into battle. That's what the priest is doing. He's leading his congregation in battle, and the spiritual battle that's taking place in the world. The holy sacrifice of the Mass, the beautiful supper of the Lamb that we celebrate he's leading them. He's facing the same direction as them. He's talking to God for them. And when he speaks to them, he turns around. but then he turns back around when he's talking to God. It helps them to understand too, you know, by his posture. Okay, now he's talking to God. It helps them to pay attention more because they're thinking, oh, okay, now he's talking to God. Oh, okay, now he's talking to us. Where when the priest faces the people, you kind of get confused a little. Like the priest may say, you know, Lord Jesus Christ, you said to your apostles, peace I leave you, my peace I give you. Look not upon our sins, but on the faith of your church. And, you know, so when he's looking at the people saying that, it's confusing to them because they're thinking, is he talking to me? You know, he's looking at me and he's engaging like me, but he's saying, Lord Jesus Christ, you said to your apostles. So why is he looking at me and engaging me like he's speaking to me? Like, Lord Jesus Christ, you said to your apostles, peace I give, you know, are you speaking to them or are you speaking to Jesus? So, you know, Jesus is on the paten and he's present in the Eucharist, most especially at that moment. Jesus is in each one of us, certainly. There's no doubt about that. But when the priest is saying those words, Jesus is on the paten in a very literal and an actual way. His actual and real soul, body, blood, soul, and divinity is on that paten at the time. So he should be looking at the paten and he should be looking at the host and he should be facing the direction of the host and speaking for the people as he's speaking to Jesus. Lord Jesus Christ, you said to your apostle, you know, you look at the host when you're saying those words, not Lord Jesus Christ, you said to your, you know, looking at the people because you're not speaking to them. You know, if I'm speaking to you right now, if I were going, hey everyone, you know, thanks, and I'm really glad that you can be with me today because, you know, this is a great time we're having, you know, you would be saying, excuse me, Father, can you look at me when you're talking? Because, and I don't know, that's what maybe Jesus is saying to the priests is, can you look at me, you know, when you're talking to me and look at them when you're talking to them? So that makes more sense. If I was facing this direction when I was talking to you, you'd be saying, this is kind of weird. You know, why isn't he looking at the camera where we can see his face because he's talking to us? And so at the Mass, the priest is talking to God. Sometimes he's talking to the people and then he turns around and he talks to them. Like if there was, you know, someone behind me who was, you know, making cappuccino or something and I wanted to, and I'm talking to you, but I wanted to talk to them, I would turn around when it's time to talk to them and say, hey, how's the cappuccino coming? You know, so the priest turns around when he speaks to the people, but he turns around when he's talking to God and facing the same direction. That's how it was for 1500 years of the church's teaching, of the church's Mass, before, you know, the left, you know, the Second Vatican Council, after the second, not the Second Vatican Council itself, because the Second Vatican Council promoted ad orientem John the 23rd, the 1962 Missal, the true Mass of the Second Vatican Council. The saint who called it, John the 23rd, had the Mass with changes, but not you know, taking away ad orientem or the Mass in Latin. So whenever you see the extraordinary form, that's the 1962 Missal. So so I have a funeral at 11. So I hope that you enjoyed our time together. I know I did. And I thank you for your support and your encouragement, your prayers. Please continue to pray for me and pray for the parish. And like I said, anyone who's watching this, who lives out of town or who, you know, thinks they want to support the parish, you know, financially because you like what we're doing, you know, I'm certainly going to be committed to streaming and being with you. So, you know, please feel free because we certainly, you know, need the help and we need the support. I think this mission now has become, since COVID-19, I think this parish mission has become even more than the parish boundaries. You know, I really believe that. I believe that the parish has expanded its boundaries to, you know, anybody in the world who's watching what we're doing here and streaming and, you know, our devotions and everything. So, if you want to support us, then please do, because, your commitment to the parish, no matter where you are, will help support the parish, help support me to be able to do what I'm doing, and then do it even more better, and have more resources to do things. And as great, I think, as our parish is now at what we're able to accomplish in the course of the year and all the activities we have going on, we can even be better, and you can help make it better. So, thank you for our time together. I'm almost done with my cappuccino. I have a couple of more sips left of it. and thank John Tafone for his graphic that he gave me for the beginning of the show. I always appreciative of that. He's such a wonderful young man, John Tafone, very, very talented and very gifted pianist and artist and what do they call it? Songwriter. I think there's a more professional word than that, but he is a songwriter, orchestrator. So I thank him for that graphic, and he's a great kid, great guy, young man. So again, we'll see you. The funeral is going to be private. The people, don't have a need for it to be streamed. So the funeral will be in private. And then I'm going to have to do the rosary at 3 because the cemetery is going to be in a different part of the state at noon. I have to go there. So I probably won't be back until about 3. So I'm going to do rosary and Divine Mercy Chaplet together today because of my needing to be at the cemetery for this funeral. So great to spend time together. God bless. Have a blessed day. Hope you enjoyed our little kitchen time together in the rectory. And, I think I might next week make it Wednesday because Thursday's my day off. So why don't we make Cappuccino with Father Capoverdi on Wednesdays? Okay. So next week, just to let you know, Cappuccino with Father Capoverdi will be on Wednesday and not Thursday. Okay. I'm just changing things now because of my day off. So have a blessed morning, and I'll see you at 3 if you can make it for prayer. God bless. See you. Okay. So Facebook friends are off the air, and now thank everyone on YouTube who's watching. God bless. Have a blessed day, and maybe I'll see you at 3 if you can make it. God bless. I have to get ready. I have to get upstairs and get ready for the funeral. God bless.